Today on the Social Investing Network, Justin Timberlake sells his entire music collection for $100 million. And he sells it to, let me check my notes here, a private equity firm. We get into the details what this means for the future of his music and JT stance. Plus, a developer thinks that they have a software solution to stop NFT scams. Sunrise is a new NFT scam protector that's a simple browser plugin. Will this work? Will it keep the scammers at bay? Hey Delano, you believe in this?
Hold on, Zaid. I'm about to bid on this NFT from totallynotascam.io. Dang it, I got outbid. Anyways, Apple is raising wages for all retail store employees. Great news for workers, but how is Apple going to pay for these new wages? It's Friday, May 27th. Subscribe below, hit the notification bell. Now let's get into it.
Justin Timberlake is about to cry a river of money. He just cashed in for $100 million selling his music catalog to a private equity firm. The private equity firm Hypnosis Songs Capital has full ownership of JT's 200 plus songs, including music from his solo career, his NSYNC days, the movie soundtracks. I mean, they bought all those rights for that. Now, why do private equity companies buy music rights in the first place? Well, the way it works is every time that you stream Sexy Back on Spotify now, that money will now be going to the private equity company that bought the rights from JT. Delano, what do you think of this?
Yeah, Zaid, he's not only bringing Sexy back, he's bringing money back to himself, apparently. We could do these puns all day, but I think it's really interesting that you're seeing a lot of this happen. From the side of the sellers, there's obviously reasons why they want to cash out. Maybe they're getting older in their career. Maybe they want to focus on different things. From the private equity funds, you mentioned the yield that they're getting. So that you could really calculate and predict to a certain extent the steady yield of royalty you'll get from these catalogs. And there's also new frontiers that I think a lot of these private equity firms are looking to put this music in. You're seeing things happening in Web3, in gaming. So there's also opportunities for them to see different streaming revenues from holding the royalty and the publishing rights for these different artists.
Yeah, you make an excellent point, right? So like the private equity people, I mean, there's very smart people, right? So they're probably looking at the streaming numbers. They're probably looking at the money that his catalog is bringing in. They assign a value to that. And they know how much money that is, and they try to figure out what the return period or yield on their investment is going to be. And that doesn't even take into account like the future opportunities, like you said, in gaming or metaverse projects that the music could be used for. So I'm starting to understand why private equity companies are starting to buy music catalogs. What's interesting though is like Justin Timberlake is one of many artists to do it. We have in the past 2 years or so, ever since COVID happened, a lot of artists have been cashing in. Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, Neil Young. Here's a graphic of the top 5 catalog values. So wow. Justin Timberlake doesn't even crack the top 5. So it just goes to show you how valuable these catalogs are. And the reason I think this started to pick up during the pandemic was because a lot of these artists couldn't tour anymore. And a lot of people know that artists make a lot of their money from touring. Yeah. So if they were getting this 9-figure check from these private equity companies, a lot of them were taking it. So, I'm starting to see why, and it makes sense for these private equity companies because they're seeing for them, a consistent return on their investment. Yep. and maybe even potential opportunities with more things down the line. I'm curious to know though, your take. What is your favorite JT song or album?
We were looking at this right before the show, Zaid. I got to go with Suit and Tie featuring Jay-Z. It's such an classy, up-tempo. It's got a cool, sensual vibe to it. That's got to be my favorite.
That's a great song. That entire album was so good. I was in college when it came out, so I love that album. I'm more of I think Sexy Back is really good. I think it's really good. Also, one thing to note, this deal doesn't include any future music that Justin Timberlake makes, right? He's only 41. I mean, he's 41. He has like another, career in front of him. He could easily make more music, and those rights do not belong to the private equity firms. So that's also very interesting compared to the other artists that I mentioned earlier, who were much older, who probably didn't have much more music that they were going to produce.
You make such a good point, because with someone that's younger, obviously he can take that, whatever his cut of the 100 million is, and invest that, do different things, and not have to put his mind or energy into music. But he can also do that again, someone that's younger and vibrant, has energy, do music, still do acting, still do other things, and potentially have so many different revenue streams. So that's a really interesting point for someone that's 41 years old deciding to sell their catalog.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't blame him for cashing in. Plus, this guy can do whatever. He does movies. I mean, he does. There's so many things for him to do. And so, yeah, very interesting stuff. And I do wonder if more artists are going to start taking deals like this and just cashing in, securing that money. So it'll be really interesting to see.
Very interesting to see. Let's move on to our headline number 2. So Sunrise browser extension aims to reduce NFT scams. So NFT haters and skeptics often claim that NFTs are nothing but scams, but one company is out to change that. Sunrise is a brand new browser extension that aims to reduce the amount of NFT phishing attacks and scams, online thievery. It works by verifying website URLs with OpenSea and other reputable databases. So Sunrise doesn't stop scams, but it gives you essential information on the website you visit, and it provides a risk assessment based on the knowledge of the sites. So Sunrise gathers that information from CryptoScamDB and OpenSea and other databases. They also use their information that they've been receiving over the years. And they're going to use those 3 primary sources. They've built a configuration file that maps Web3 sites to trust scores. So for NFT community members and projects, these scores have added factors to consider. So I think this is really interesting. We've talked on the show a lot about, how we can reduce the scams. And obviously, since we're looking at a decentralized world, how do you have some sort of area where you can kind of lower the amount of scams, Zaid? So is this something that could be helpful? Like, what do you think about this new Sunrise extension?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need it, right? It kind of reminds me of like the early days of like antivirus software that people used to have like in like 2002, 2003, because there's so much viruses on the internet that people would just accidentally click a link, get virus, and then have a really poor experience. So this is probably like kind of like that. I think one of the biggest downsides of NFTs and the decentralized Web3 is that you can get scammed easily. I mean, we saw it happen with Seth Green this week, where he got his ape stolen and he had a whole show planned around it. So having a system like this is important. Now, I don't know how effective this is going to be. Hopefully hopefully it's very effective. But any sort of progress towards easier security for normal people is better, in my opinion. So I'm happy to see tools like this being developed. Hopefully it's just the first of many.
Yeah, one thing we didn't note, it's open software, open database. It's supposed to be free. The founders are people that I think one of them experienced kind of a phishing or a scam attack, and it took up the mantle to really help people. And I think this is great. It's going to be helpful. The more information this database collects, the more information this browser extension database collects, will be more helpful to the community and to be able to suss out different potential scams as it goes along. So I definitely think this is great. This is one step forward. Education, as people are logging in and doing a verification on different sites, they're able to just gather more information themselves on like, okay, what looks right, what looks wrong, and that's going to be helpful for the NFT and Web3 community overall.
Yeah, I also wonder though if this leads to a bit of centralization. Something to think about right here. We'll end on this note is that like now we kind of are relying on a couple centralized organizations like an OpenSea to kind of confirm or verify that these NFT projects are legit. So yeah, well, I mean, again, I'm happy that this is happening, but there's still a lot of things to be played out here.
100%.
Delano, some good news here. Apple is raising wages. Apple retail employees their wages are going to be raised from $20 an hour to $22 an hour. It's a 10% bump. It helps with inflation. Obviously, every organization is dealing with labor shortages. So this is probably going to help Apple keep their labor, without losing some of their labor. And I also think that Apple's trying to push back against unionization as well. I think there was a couple stories out that a few Apple stores are pushing towards a vote towards unionization. We've seen Starbucks locations do that. Amazon locations have been starting to do that. And now it's starting to happen to Apple retail locations. So what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about Apple? Do you think this is just a inflation adjustment raise, or do you think there's a bigger push here?
Yeah, Zaid, it's definitely that inflation adjustment raise, as well as what you mentioned with the union and try to fight off some of the unionization. A lot of CEOs and executives are very scared of that happening. They're seeing something down the pipeline that they're scared, so they're trying to be proactive in a sense. Now, Apple has a ton of cash, so I don't think this is an issue for them. They do have a lot of workers. I don't know if you've gotten into an Apple store recently. There's like 1 million blue shirts around, which is great for your service, even though you still have to like log in and wait till your turn is called. But and so I think this is helpful for Apple. Now, if you're an investor, you obviously have to consider, what does this mean for Apple? They said that their outlook for as far as their iPhones are going to stay the same or flat roughly for the next 12 months. And now they're increasing wages. So that could potentially cut into their bottom line. And we're seeing a lot of companies, retailers have their bottom line being cut by different reasons, whether it's inventory management, different spending from consumers. So that's something also for people to consider as you think about Apple here.
I mean, like you said, they have like $200 billion in cash. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for them to eat this extra added labor cost. Now, I do wonder, though, if this might mean that they're going to raise the prices of their iPhones moving for the next launch in order to keep their margins, right? Because Apple is very, very, they love that high profit margins. And I wonder if they're going to keep that by raising prices. So I guess we'll find out, because the new iPhones are coming out in the next 4 or 5 months. September, October is right around the corner, dude.
Yeah, so I'm glad. I think I have the 13th, so I may not have to buy another one for a couple of years in case they increase the prices, which is very, very possible. And you're right. They have that luxury brand where it's something that people, you look at it as a luxury, but it's something that people still need. Multiple devices, right? The iPhone, the watch, the AirPods. We all have like at least 2 or 3 devices, I would assume. So if they're raising prices, that could help potentially protect their margins.
I'll wrap with this. I saw a quote earlier that Warren Buffett said that Apple was the ultimate hedge against inflation, because if Apple raises prices, people will still buy the products. And like you said, it has to do with that ultimate luxury brand that has a mass adoption. Because if you need an iPhone, you're buying an iPhone regardless if it costs $1,000 or $1,100. So Apple is in a very, very good spot here.
100%. So with it being Friday, let's move on to a more fun segment. So TikTok has helped create a new generation of financial stars. Heck, even Zaid has made himself widely rich and famous from TikTok, right, Zaid?
I can't walk out the door with 2 minutes later. I'm getting like hounded by photographs and paparazzi. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
I love it. And one of the hottest trends now on TikTok is the money challenge, where people show off their hot money tips. And a notable trend is a modern take on an old classic, the modern day piggy bank. Let's take a look. In our first video, we have IMJ Monique with $1.2 million followers. And she is, okay, we got a Hennessy bottle and some money. Okay. And some other items. Oh, a hammer. Okay. This could go horribly wrong, but let's hope it doesn't.
What? I don't know if this is very safe. On a bed, too? I don't know if this is a good idea. Oh, my God. So I'm assuming she's going to use the hammer to bust open that bottle.
That would, yep. There we go. Number one. Oh.
I can't. That's a lot of glass right there. I mean, there's got to be a better way to do this. What was wrong with traditional piggy banks?
That, or the bank accounts, but yeah, I understand.
Yeah, or bank accounts.
But, okay, so she's laid it out there. Okay, so we're seeing a good amount of cash, and we're counting it. All right. So I'm not mad. $542. I'm not mad at someone saving $542 because a lot of us, we have different ways where we save, whether it's the Hennessy bottle or doing something. So it's good to see people doing it and maybe potentially invest in that money. Let's move on to our next video, which is Fonz Bentley Jr. And this video has 177,000 likes. What do we got here, Zay? It looks like a Ciroc bottle. Ciroc.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gritty.
What is this man doing?
A little less care there, just went for it.
Oh, here we go.
How much do we got? 715,
wow.
a step up. So people are forcing themselves to save, and if you're using your old, liquor bottles, that's totally fine. Drink liquor and then you save the money. I love it.
Yeah, as long as it's helping people save money. I mean, maybe think about investing that a little bit, but as long as people are saving money, can't fault them.
In video number three, we have Brazy, and this one was actually a big jug of water, a big container of water. We got the money counter here. Interesting.
She had to bust out the money counter.
I love it. I was gonna say, I've seen that in different shows, Narcos and whatnot, but yeah, no, now we're seeing it here.
So I'm thinking there's like a business opportunity here. We just need to make like alcohol-shaped piggy banks or something like that are like safe and breakable, and just sell that to a bunch of people on TikTok. You know, because like why waste the good? Why like bust open and crack open a glass Hennessy bottle? Why don't we just like sell one that looks like a Hennessy bottle but like is easily, I don't know, easily smashable without having glass go everywhere? There's some sort of idea here. I'm sure we can go on Shark Tank and get like Mark Cuban to invest in this.
There is a product idea here, Zane. I'm following along with you. There's something there. But the big thing, like you mentioned, is getting people to save. I love that people are finding innovative ways and they're sharing it with other people, right? Like it's a huge trend on TikTok, MoneyChallenge. People are sharing different ideas to save, and also I'm assuming to invest or diversify their money. So that's a pretty cool trend.
Yeah, I'm all for people finding any ways that they can to save. If it means stuffing dollar bills into a liquor bottle that you drank out of, fine. Maybe take some of that money though and either put it in a bank account or maybe invest it. You know, because that will help you grow your wealth long term. But this is a good first step. Makes for good videos, makes for good TikToks, and hopefully inspires more people to save.
100%, 100%.
Well, Delano, that does it for another great show. I had a really good time on this show. Another great week. Long weekend this weekend, so everybody enjoy the long weekend. I think it's the unofficial start of summer. I'm pumped. It's going to be a good time spending with the family. And also, hit that subscribe button so you can catch us when we go live next week.
See you next week, y'all.
We out.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in every day. Also, hit that like, subscribe, and notification buttons. We'll see you tomorrow.